Hey everyone, in our last video we set up this vintage Gibson S1 and today we will have a closer look at it. We want to talk about different things when we go into detail about this guitar. First of all, we want to talk about the model, the history of it, the famous players. In the second part we will cover all the relevant specs. And in the last part you will hear the guitar, all the different pickup combinations and sounds. And if you're not interested in a particular part, you can always skip it. We have timestamps down below.
The Gibson S1 has a quite interesting history to it. Gibson started its production in 1974. From then on, in 1975, it was available in stores until 1980. I have found different sources. Some say that they were discontinued in 1979 with the production and were available and in their catalog until June 1980.
Okay.
However, some sources say that a few separate models have been produced even after that and found their way into the store.
Okay.
So yeah. Altogether, the records only go up until 1979 of the production. So in this time frame, there were 3,089 guitars produced.
Yeah.
And yeah, from 1978, June 1978 on, they changed the wiring in it. Because originally, this did not have an isolated neck pickup, even though it has in total 5 positions. The neck pickup was not an option, and Gibson itself thought of this as a contender for the Stratocaster with a maple bolt-on neck, 3 single coils. Yeah, this should be, and 5 positions, this should be the answer of them to the Stratocaster and get into that market of the bolt-on neck guitars with 3 single coils.
Yep.
However, Bill Lawrence, the designer of this guitar, thought of it very differently. In an interview, he mentioned that he thought of this guitar to be a single pickup guitar. The reason is somewhat understandable, because all the pickup options are wired in series, so you don't have this second position or fourth position like you would have on a Stratocaster. You have them wired pretty much like humbuckers together. And there is only one position where we have just one of those single coils on their own in the original schematics. And this is with the bypass switch over here. The toggle switch is not a 3-way switch, just
downwards.
Downwards, one position, where you bypass whatever setting you have on the rotary switch to have just the bridge pickup.
That reminds me a little bit of the Fender Jazzmaster with the separate circuit. So this one, if you flick this switch downward, it's just this one. And everything else is ignored. But those still work, volume and tone.
Yeah. This particular model is one totally in maple. So the whole body is maple as well as the neck. There were different versions.
There's one with a mahogany body, for example, and different finishes. I think there's the Sunburst, Tobacco Sunburst one as well.
Sunburst one, the maple, the full maple, then the mahogany, and I think the early ones were even older.
Okay.
Some of those.
And in case you're wondering, because this one is full maple, yes, it is heavy. We estimate it to be above 10 pounds. We didn't weigh it, but it's a lot heavier than the PRS Tremonti I have, the PRS SC Tremonti, and that one is close to 5 kilos or 4.5 kilos, something
4.5 kilos.
Yeah, 9.5 pounds, and this one's definitely heavier, so it's above 10 pounds and close to 5 kilos.
This is really a heavy guitar.
Yeah.
And with this, I think we already wander into the realms of the specs. The headstock is in the style of the Flying V. On the backside, you have 3-on-3 Gibson branded tuners. They work quite fine on this guitar and we haven't noticed any problems with them so far. The nut itself on this one is a bone nut. Not sure if the original one came with a bone nut, but this one has one on it. The reason we are not quite sure if it is also the fret job on this guitar, because there are frets that look totally new, some are filed down and leveled, and yeah, it's not quite sure if there was a refret on this guitar or not. The neck itself is a 3-piece maple neck. And as you've seen, also with a maple fingerboard. The body also is maple, and it's a 2-piece body. And yeah, let's get to the pickups and its unconventional wiring. The rotary switch is your main switch for all the positions. In position 1 you have the neck pickup in series with the middle pickup. This means it acts pretty much like a humbucker. And in the second position it is the middle pickup and the bridge pickup together. Then in the third position you have all 3 pickups together as like extremely huge humbucker. And in the fourth position you have the neck pickup and the middle pickup in series out to face. And yeah, then you have the bypass switch. Whatever you have selected on the rotary switch is not active anymore, and you have just the bridge pickup. In June 1978 they changed position 1 to be just the neck pickup. And this was previously not possible to get that neck pickup, and as Gibson thought it had to be a contender with the Stratocaster, which most people prefer to play on the neck pickup as a single coil, they thought they would need this option on this guitar as well. So they removed that first position with neck and the middle pickup and only used the neck pickup in this position. Yeah. On the very bottom you have the harmonica style bridge that was made by Schaller.
Made in Germany.
In Germany. And yeah, just the Gibson stoptail of that era.
1 volume, 1 tone, no split coil options. Obviously the wiring is complicated enough as it is. And when we opened it for our setup video, we recognized that there's a mini pot.
Yeah, a smaller pot. Probably that one has also been changed.
Yeah, might have been changed, but
yeah,
hard to tell. And
that's pretty much it for the specs. And with that, let's transition to the playing.
So the Gibson S1, pretty funky guitar, I would say.
Yeah.
You have the headstock of a Flying V.
The pickup configuration of a Strat.
And the body shape is kind of like a Les Paul. It's a single cut.
But it does not sound like your typical Gibson.
And it doesn't sound like a Strat.
Yeah. So it's really its own thing.
Absolutely. It's a cool piece and a real vintage instrument, which we don't have that often on the channel.
Yeah, and this one is rather affordable if you compare it to other vintage instruments of that era.
True.
Right. So we've looked it up on Reverb, and the last few ones that went were, depending on the condition, between 1,000 and 1,600 euros.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's not something that's totally out of the world.
Absolutely.
As a guitar. And yeah, maybe it's something for someone to really find his own voice in an instrument that's not that mainstream.
Yeah. With only 3,000 something made.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
And yeah, there are only a few notable players of this guitar. So those ones are big, but they didn't play it for long either. So you have Ronny Wood, which was also prominently used by Gibson for their advertisements in 76 and 77.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Keith Richards early on, and you have also Carlos Santana.
Mm-hmm.
And
nowadays,
someone I found was using it or is using it is Angel Olsen, a singer-songwriter from the US. But yeah, the latest pictures I found of her was when she was also using a Jazzmaster, I think. So I'm not sure if she's still using that guitar, but there is a quite interesting interview of her explaining that this guitar does really a lot for her because it covers a lot of bases.
Mm-hmm. I think the pickup combinations, they are very different sounding.
Yeah.
Personally, I like the position 1 of the rotary switch, which is neck and middle. It sounds like a fat neck humbucker or a wide neck humbucker.
Yeah.
And position 3 also sounds pretty cool, that's like really a huge...
All the pickups together.
In series, so that's a huge pickup, huge humbucker, pretty much.
If you want, I can wire this up for you on a Strat.
A fat Strat. And yeah, the position I like the least is bridge only, because to me that sounded just too thin.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy that.
Probably if I would rewire this guitar, I would probably put the neck pickup on the bypass.
Neck only.
Neck only on the bypass.
I would prefer that, because even on Strats I don't really like the single coil bridge sound, but yeah, that's just me.
Yeah, and what we've noticed is with this tone pot, it does something. It's not that it's not working, but at least when we were on the DSL-20 on the high gain channel, there it was really not noticeable, and in the clean mode it was also just really subtle. So
yeah,
you don't
different pot maybe.
Yeah,
would
maybe capacitor.
Or a capacitor.
More likely
more
a
off.
capacitor to
True.
take more of the highs off. Yeah, but it's not my guitar, so
Absolutely. And by the way, thank you very much again, Bene, for lending us this guitar. He bought it, I think, in December and got it in January this year, 2023. So he didn't have it for a long time. He won it at an auction. And yeah, he provided it to us, not to set up, but we did that anyway with his consent. But
yeah, because otherwise it would have not been playable.
Yeah,
and I think this also shows that vintage guitars are not always good guitars.
No, and yeah, we got it in a great condition. I think it plays nicely now, and the fret ends are no problem. The action is all right. It's pretty low actually, and the neck is straight. So it's functioning great. Everything works as it should, and it was a pleasure to have this guitar on the channel. It was a lot of fun to play with it and play it on the video, but I've played it before, of course. Yeah, and it's a cool piece. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and as mentioned, it's really something different. So
Yeah,
this is
it's not a straight SG Tele Les Paul.
So for someone who is really looking for something else, might be worth looking on the used market. But yeah, be aware, there can be lemons. The time does not fly over those without them noticing. So they may sit in a basement with low or high humidity, fret sprout or something else, warped necks, or that's really the thing. You don't know until you have it in your hands.
At least it was just the fret ends, because with a warped neck, that would be pretty bad.
Yeah, and this could have very well been because the truss rod was not adjusted at all.
It was not tight, right?
It was not tight and
not tightened.
Yeah, and
what I also enjoy about the guitar is just the way the finish looks, because it's nitro finish and just it's not that prominent. It's rather subtle cracks on the headstock, for example. But I think it looks nice, and the body as well. It's pretty much everywhere flame.
Yeah,
I think the back looks great as well. It's just really cool, and you have a little bit buckle rash here, not extreme, but it has signs of wear. There are dings and dongs, so this guitar just has character.
Yeah, it was used.
It was used. That's cool.
That's usually a good sign if a guitar has been used and not just...
I agree. Not just sitting in a case or whatever. So yeah, very cool guitar. We hope you enjoyed our little series, 2-part series about this Gibson S1. And with that,
have a good one. Thanks for watching and hope to see you another time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.